Hello everyone, my name is Miller and welcome back again to another Season Max video, the series where I go more in depth on the cars of the season, showing what they are capable of and my favorite bits and details in AR. Today I will be covering the BMW M4 GTS with the Varis body kit, the Lotus Evora GT430, and I'll show a stage 5 tune as well that might be useful for the coming up Prestige Cup, the Quintin brothers Camaro, and the Garret's Rod Shop Barracuda Hemi-S, which is a monster of a car. Timestamps for each car can be found down below. 2 pointers. I'm not the best at this. If records exist, I try to get as close as possible. If none exist yet, for example for the M4, I try to set a certain benchmark. And I would also like to thank Natural Motion for providing me the cars with the upgrades on my dummy account to make this video possible. Let's get into it. To kick things off, the BMW M4 GTS with the Varis body kit. The second kit by Varis we have in game, and on both cars there is something in common. They both have the Volk TE37 rims. There are only 2 cars in game to have these super popular rims, the Tier 3 Type R Varis and this beauty right here. Under the track-based kit, the car is practically an M4 GTS. The engine and the interior are completely identical, but the carbon bits all around give it that true M4 GTS worthy name, unlike the standard version, which is just slightly wider and has some carbon bits. All around this car there are loads of amazing details, and I'll keep the most fun one for last. But before I go on my season video I showed a version without stickers, the one you see here. This one is wrong. The version you will get at the end of the season if you hit 20 million crew RP will be this white one with the stickers, so this is the correct one. Let's start at the front. The canards here are crazy. I just love the way that they flow and also how they go over the vents, giving kind of that real race car vibe that I miss with so many cars. Combined with that the front splitter, and in contrast with the white it looks great. Moving to the side then, the fender flares have quite some special shapes. First this triangle here on top, I don't think I've seen any kit have it like this, and then when you go down you can clearly see a zigzag pattern in the carbon fiber piece. It's so unique. While we follow to the back we see the continuation of the carbon parts, such as the side splitter, the quite aggressive rear splitters and the diffuser, and of course the big Voltex wing, which will without a doubt be more useful than the stock GTS wing. When we go down a bit from here and close up to the exhausts, we see a slightly different rainbow-like color. These are blue exhaust tips. This discoloration is not artificial but the result of applying extreme heat to titanium. But we see this discoloration not only on the exhaust tips, but also on some other bits around the car, and this is my favorite thing. Look at all the bolts and rivets. They all have this changing color visual, which is so subtle yet so great, and it even shows up on the spoiler. And just like on the Varis, the wheel nuts also show this special color play. The final bit I want to talk about is on the stickers. Behind the rear wheel we see quite a special brand, Maguire's. And if you watched my video on Trans S2000 roughly 2 months ago, I mentioned how they had replaced it by Sparco. Well now if you go look at the S2000, the logo is actually replaced and fixed, so I presume they just signed the brand quite recently. As the car has basically the same interior and engine as the standard M4 GTS and there is no real weight reduction, I would expect the performance to be roughly the same, and it kind of is, although it's slower, but not by much, making it still a subpar tier 4 car, but I imagine this is done thinking ahead, maybe with the Elite Customs car in the future, with some extra fusion parts. Tune and pattern. Onto the Prestige car, and it's a car I've already covered in the past on Season 91, so I will not go too much in depth on this Lotus Evora GT430, but rather fixate on some of the details that got added. Since Season 91 we have had an update, showing the various specs in the showroom, proving us that new specs were added to where the GT430 logo on the fenders and on the rear spoiler slightly change, alongside the spoiler end plates and the lines that flow on the roof and on the hood depending on the main color. This Evora was up until recently the fastest road legal Lotus, which is actually powered by 3.5 liter V6 by Toyota. This means it can put out 430 horsepower, which might not sound like much, but it's such a light and nimble car, this will blast your socks off without a doubt. This little car tops out at 280 km per hour with an acceleration of a 0 to 100 of 3.7 seconds. As it's a special edition, only 60 will be made, and if you look at the interior, on the dashboard there is a small badge saying 1 out of 60, so technically if you had plenty of silver keys and you would pull 61, one had to be a fake one. Performance wise, it's a decent car. It's in the top there in terms of Gold Star Tier 4 cars, with the possibility of beating the Tempest series using 2 to 3 stage 6 parts. Keep in mind you have to have it fully fused and you need to do some retuning for the speed trap and the sprint races. The record stands on a 10.406, tune and pattern. For the stage 5 tune, no nonsense here, tune and pattern. The Quintin brothers Camaro, originally found at SEMA of 2017, has been in game now for 41 seasons, which is almost 2 years ago since it became a milestone car. Since then, this old school powerhouse hasn't really gotten the love it deserves in any kinds of events, so this is basically its first time. What you see here is what custom building stands for. You take a classic and make it your own without making it unrecognizable. Here they decided to keep that boxy old school style combined with some modern aspects and a crazy color contrast with the forged line rims, which have a special customized QB logo. Behind these rims, the brake discs, which are special bare 6P Pro brakes, which I had honestly never even heard of, but keep that logo in mind as I'll be showing something later. Moving to the back then, at the bottom you can find the black rectangular exhausts, which without a doubt will sound crazy in real life. And if you go up, the fuel cap is in a quite special place in the center between the rear lights. But you still have surprisingly quite a big trunk, which is also super detailed. Moving to the front, the headlights also got that old school style, but if you look up closely, you can see the modern type headlights. Upon opening the hood, we see the heart of this machine. A supercharged V8 but with all the elements painted in the same blue of the car, making it a big one-piece theme. Left and right from the engine you can see loads of carbon fiber being used, as the goal is not only to be a powerhouse, but also be light so you can hit that quarter mile like no one else. Also on the right you see that bare master cylinder just floating on its own, fully detailed. Going to the interior then, it's also quite special here. First thing here, this car does not know what safety is. A 2-point seat belt with that much power on the lightweight car is straight out dangerous, and I doubt it has any airbags. But they could somehow invest in an expensive steering wheel and a digital dashboard. But my favorite bit here is the design of the vents. They look kinda special and cool, like retro but still modern. Performance wise, one of the faster cars out there with a quite tricky pattern. The record stands on a 7.594, this was my best attempt. The last one for today, but the fastest and the craziest one, the Hemi-S Cuda by Garret's Rod Shop, and as you can see in the name, the S indicates that it's a Formula S model. rather than the quite popular classic Cuda, explaining its slightly different look. This car in general is rather crazy. The stands, the rims, the mods, everything. I don't know what to say, it's a one of a kind, it's unique. And it has a ton load of Barracuda logos all around the car, more than the ACS badges we've had last season. I honestly did not know that the name was derived from the type of fish. And now I will never forget, because when you pay some good attention to the steering wheel, you can see a logo of a fish, which is the Barracuda. And you can see the same logo on the back between the seats. But what if I told you there are hundreds and hundreds more of these on the same car? Would you believe me? If you go look to the rear window, what seems to be like a fade of black dots, if you zoom in, it's a school of Barracudas forming this fade. This is so unique, so special, so much this car. It's a great detail. If we drop down and we go to the trunk, obviously what catches the eye here is the massive long rear light, existing completely out of LEDs. But when you open the trunk, you can see the livery which flows nicely from the side, cutting through to the inside. Then what is inside the trunk? Well, there's this big hump which takes so much space, but I have no idea what it is. Anyone out there who knows what it is? I think maybe a fuel tank, but it has cooling elements, so I'm a bit confused. When we move to the front, again we see the adaptation of modern lights with the retro styling. And when opening the hood, the lights just come loose and disappear, which is a quite nice feature, but what you see here has to be one of the cleanest engines I've ever seen. This is perfection. The way it fits in there, with a random red intake flowing into the supercharger. This must be crazy engine in general, but it's also so clean. Going back to the interior then, it's fully retro and very red. You have the red gauges here, the hella weird gear knob, and some headrest which will hurt your neck if you accelerate too fast. And behind the rear seats there seems to be quite a big bed to put stuff on. And on the back a badge saying Recovery Room, which is the name of the company which made the interior. And the name of the interior, Recovery Room Red. But did you notice where the pin is actually situated when you go check the car out in the showroom? Normally this pin is situated where the door handle should be, but there is none on the outside, so it's attached to the inside door handle of the car, leaving the outside super clean and completely straight without any disturbances. And you also most likely didn't notice that there is no side view mirror, because if needed, the windows are down, just stick your head out. Performance wise, it's a beast, with a record of a 7.336, and my best attempt stranding me on a 7.338, but again with a needle drop. What is up with those lately? Tune and pattern. Another very long video, but there was just so many things to mention. I hope you enjoyed discovering them as much as I did. Hopefully now you get to extract a lot more out of your cars and show off with it. And let's be honest, they are kind of dope. If you enjoyed the video, do not hesitate to leave a like, subscribe for more content like this. My name is Mille, see you around, and keep racing.